What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate, reverse rants, no hate. So, saw a video of Derrick James being interviewed, and this is after I saw these thumbnails talking about, whoa, 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 Derrick James, the new trainer for Anthony Joshua. I watched the one legit video of Derrick James himself speaking. I don't know what these other channels are talking about because they're speaking like it's actually happening. Well, Derrick James himself said he's not actually training Anthony Joshua. I don't know I don't remember if he said Anthony Joshua came to his gym or just a gym that he's affiliated with in general, but he said, he was asked about training Anthony Joshua. He said there was talks about it, but there's, been no actual nothing set in motion about him being his trainer. And he said that, he was asked about Anthony Joshua's work rate. Was he impressed about how he worked? And so he basically had some good things to say about Anthony Joshua. He said Anthony Joshua works very hard. And I've seen Anthony Joshua training videos, and even videos without the edits, like before the edits, you can see AJ does work very hard. But, the interviewer asked Derrick James, what would he do? What would he do? Like if he was, Anthony Joshua's trainer. But he said basically try to get him back to his winning ways. And what people don't understand, I've asked that question in the community section, like, which trainer would more than likely be able to get Anthony Joshua to pretty much get in top form to start winning fights again, like winning, major fights. And, with the list I put up, but people have their opinions on who they think would be the better trainer, right? But here's the reality. It's not about rebuilding Anthony Joshua. It's about adding to his arsenal. For him, the main thing is that, but also his confidence in himself. It doesn't matter if the trainer believes in you. It doesn't matter if the fans believe in you. If you don't believe in yourself, you'll get in there, and the things that continue to cause you to lose fights, you will continue to do those things. And so it's not good when you hear a fighter put themselves in a box. The fans, forget the fans trying to put you in a box. You're putting yourself in a box when you say, I'm not a 12-round fighter, I'm 18 stone. And telling yourself that you can't do something is like, that's like, imagine somebody saying, hey, I decided to be a boxer, but I know I'll never be world champion. Then what are you doing this for then? So, we can sit here and try to pick apart what we think happened to Anthony Joshua. How come this is happening, that's not happening? That doesn't matter. None of that matters. The bottom line is it's what he does now. Truthfully, Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn, he said it and he's right. Anthony Joshua doesn't fight enough. He went a whole year without fighting during the COVID situation. Fight once a year. This is experience that he's not gaining. So imagine if you was fighting 2-3 times a year. Within a 3-year span, you could have had, just say 9 fights, 10 fights. But instead 3. And you know what I'm saying? So it's like, wow. And this is experience that you're missing out on. You can't make up for lost time and bring that back. But what you do now, I listen, there's a guy, 65 years old. 65. I remember watching this guy play ball, and he always could ball, but his handle was not that sick. If he get a first step on, he had a nice jump shot, and that's what he depended on. But the more he played against athletic people that could jump higher than him, run faster than him, it became a problem. He started learning from one of these kids, one of these young guys, real young guys in the gym. His handle is sick. I'm talking at 65. And I used to tell him, man, if you get your handle up, you'd be a lot better. You're not slow. You're not the highest jumper. You're not the tallest person. But that handle will take you a long way. At 65, I promise you, if that motherfucker dye his beard and his hair or cut it, you would not know that he was 65. If you watch that dude, his handle is sick, man. And he's 65. So imagine him saying, well, I mean, I'll never be able to do that. No. Everything else that he does is what he does. But adding with that handle to his arsenal, he's so much more dangerous at 65. That man is 70 years old in 5 years. He's 65 playing ball with 20-year-olds. You understand what I'm saying? Anthony Joshua has to have the mindset to understand, I have to be able to absorb this stuff and be comfortable. I think Derrick James would be a great trainer for him. But if Derrick James can tap into this, and this, that's really the only thing that's going to work. And I think Anthony Joshua need to be in the gym with guys that got some rhythm, guys that are very technically sound, that know how to put combinations together. If you're working around that, it becomes second nature. And if that's who you're training with and the type of styles you're coming up against and people showing you how to do these things, then it's adding to your arsenal. It's not trying to make him a completely different fighter. He's been fighting that way for so long. So yes, you can add new things. You know, we've seen different fighters. I could sit here and go through some names of fighters that we've seen do different things at times, because whether they were getting older, it's like, okay, let me be more defensive minded. Let me learn how to start to walk down. You know, hey, you seen guys who were very elusive at one point. I always said this, right? Marvin Hagler and Pernell Whitaker, right? They're both southpaws. Two completely different fighters. Now imagine with Marvin Hagler's power, right? His chin, his will, his desire. Imagine if that motherfucker learned how to slip and stay in the pocket like Pernell. Make you miss and make you pay. Like Pernell was do, but with his power. Just imagine if he learned that. If somebody, if that was his interest, his mindset, I want to learn how to do that shit that Pernell is doing. Just imagine, right? So what I'm saying, you have to feel comfortable doing these things. So for Anthony Joshua, it's not just switching trainers. It's being in a gym where you see this all the time. You see when guys are so comfortable, they slip with their hands down, move, light you up from the waist, hands, from waist level. Not to try to look pretty, but they're just that good. And they're making you look stupid. And they're breaking your will because in your mind, they're toying with you. They're playing with you and this shit's working. You still can't hit them. That type of shit. That's what Anthony Joshua need to be around. Because he can box. But Anthony Joshua, to adapt and adjust and readjust in fights and be able to play chess and understand, okay, he see what I'm doing. Let me shut this down. Let me switch up. That's what Anthony Joshua can't do. And it's mostly because this is telling him he can't do it. So, no, Derrick James is not his trainer. And if he was, it would be stupid for them to sit here and hide it. I mean, like, I'm so sick of this. Like, when it comes to boxing, man, look, I watch a lot of one fighting. I've been watching it for years. Watch a lot of UFC. I watch Bellator. I watch kickboxing. I watch all of this shit. I would really love to talk about it and just get that type of interest in the channel, man. But it's like, honestly, I feel like if I do that, the boxing part will phase out, honestly. Because boxing is just to a point. You don't see that. That's one thing I love about one championship. Don't matter what they say about each other before they fight. The point is they fight. They go in there, they do what they have to do. They fight. They entertain. You don't hear, oh, he's ducking me. Oh, the fight's on, the fight's off, the fight's on, the fight's off. Oh, yeah, well, it's his fault. We said, you don't hear that shit, man. It's like if I see an advertisement or a little video package for a one championship tournament, unless something happened, to someone, they get injured or something, you don't, they just lost Victoria Lee, 17 years old, died, condolences to her family, but at the end of the day, I really want to do that. But I know, like I said, unless somebody gets injured, something like that happen, I'm going to be able to watch a pay-per-view fight, a pay-per-view card, and pretty much like what I see, but you're going to get those fights. Man, out of all of these contact sports, boxing is the only one with this nonsense. You don't see that in MMA. I mean, in the UFC, you have had situations where certain guys were supposed to fight, and okay, the fight didn't happen, and they're trash talking or whatever. But at some point, they will get in there and fight. It's not the same thing. It's not this whole I'm the A side, give me this or I won't fight. It just really just takes away now from the sport, and it takes away from the fighters. See, I get turned off by this type of shit. Like, I can go right now in the gym and train, beat the fuck out of somebody that's training for a fight, make them look stupid, embarrass them. And you know what happens? When you do this, these fighters, the trainers even feel like, yo, man, you hurting his confidence. Fuck that and fuck you. If this motherfucker can't understand that this is where you get the kinks out, so when you get to the fight, you're well prepared. So you put them in there with a bunch of easy sparring partners. You put them in there with people that sit there and hold back, and you give them this false confidence that they're better than what they are. You know, it's a lot to be said about all of that. But at the end of the day, it comes down to this. Him and Derrick James would have to be around each other. It's not just the training. It's the conversation. It's the connection. It's the trust. It's the love. It's the respect, the bond. It's everything. It's just like you as a kid. You could have 5 kids trying to fight you, and you by yourself. Let you see your dad walk up. Yeah, let's go, right? Little kid, but you see it, so you know you got somebody that got your back. Now you feel like, okay, I know I can trust my dad that, yeah, you know, we're going to handle this. Just saying, that somebody that's special to you. Not just some random person walking down the street, no, somebody that you got love for. And this is what happens. You look at how Derrick James talks about, you know, Errol Spencer, how he talks about, you know, the Charlos. You got to understand, it's a situation where you just know each other. And, you know, Anthony Joshua always talk about, you know, you got to trust the process. Well, right. He needs to be in a situation where this is my trainer. This is who I'm listening to. This is who I'm working with. Unless he does that. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not like the heavyweight division is so, like, super talented, okay? But unless he does that, he's going to still be in a situation mentally where if he comes up against controversy, he won't react to things the way he should. He can retire from boxing, sit back, look at his fights and think, man, you know, I should have did blah, blah, blah. And there's a lot of regret. And you want to know something? People don't bring that factor up, but that's a lot of reason why a lot of fighters retire and then try to come back. Because now they feel like they learned and realized something that they didn't see before. And they think they can apply it. But then now the physical tools are starting to rust. They got rusty now. You're not what you was. You don't hit as hard. You're not as fast. Your reflexes are not there. And they think that this alone is going to win. It's like, You can make the prettiest jet you want in the world, man. But if you don't have an engine in that motherfucker, it ain't going to fly, right? You just sit there and look at it. It looks good. It looked like, damn, man, I like to fly that plane, that jet, right? Yeah. It has to be right. And for Anthony Joshua, whoever Anthony Joshua fights, I want to see Anthony Joshua win. Now, you guys know, if he lose, he just lose. I'm not going to lose sleep, whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm honest and I'm real. I'm not going to sit here and say what Anthony Joshua fans and fanboys want me to say. And that's the dude I want to see beat everybody in the heavyweight division that he fight. Okay, I don't care where they from. I don't care about none of that. Anthony Joshua is the guy I always push for in the heavyweights. But I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't see his flaws. I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't understand that he needs to change his mindset. And he just needs to tweak some things, and he needs to learn how to throw his punches faster and start to, learn when to throw 3 and 4 punch combinations. Attack the body early. Take that wind away. He has to learn how to be crafty, how to be tricky, and not be predictable. So just, I just wanted to get that out there, man, because I've seen all these videos. I'm sitting here watching like, why are you guys lying to the public, man? Derrick James never said he was training Anthony Joshua. A couple of months ago, they made the same lie and said Roy Jones was training him simply because they had a phone call, and Roy Jones said Anthony Joshua said that wasn't him on the phone, it was somebody else, and pretty much they squashed a little misunderstanding, okay? And then all of a sudden you see all these videos, people talking about Roy Jones, new trainer. Whoa, breaking news. Roy Jones Jr. training Anthony Joshua. And it's like, no, that's not even the case. But people love to lie. So that came from Derrick James' mouth, that he is not training Anthony Joshua. I mean, yeah, we could make that happen, but that, there were talks, but that's that. So we do not know. And also, there's also been talks about, this guy Dempsey McKean, that I don't really know too much about him. So when I hear a fighter's name, I'll go and I'll look their fights up and start watching their fights. Okay, cool. Look at who's who, the opponents they fought, the rankings, which don't always mean anything, but just at least to be able to observe their style and see what they bring to the table. And so now what I'm hearing is that it might be Jermaine Franklin. Jermaine Franklin fought Dillian White, held his own. A whole lot of people thought Jermaine Franklin won the fight. And the fact that Dillian White was able to squeeze the one out over a guy that nobody knew, well, all the talk about, Tyson Fury took a lot out of Dillian, all this bullshit, man, listen, at the end of the day, it comes down to this. AJ gave Dillian White and Jermaine Franklin high praises after their fight. Saluted both of them. So what I see, if that's the case, that he may be getting ready to fight Jermaine Franklin, well, the first thing's going to happen is people are going to compare his performance to Dylan's performance. Secondly, we already heard, Eddie Hearn say he wanted Anthony Joshua to take a lesser opponent, maybe two, just to, fine tune him. Then they wanted to fight Dillian White and then Deontay Wilder. Now, basically, for Anthony Joshua, if he fights a Jermaine Franklin, which his name has been, talked about more recent than Dempsey McKean. So pretty much he beats Jermaine Franklin. More than likely, the next fight will be against Dillian White. He beats Dillian White. Now, when it comes to Wilder and AJ's sides have a history. It's been years and years of negotiations, talks. You did it. It's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault. No fight. And I don't care. People grow up. I don't care to sit here going through all this. It's his fault. He's that's like so petty, and everybody should be beyond that. Either they want to fight or they don't. Now, we've heard Eddie Hearn sit here and say he sent term sheets out or whatever, like there's been talks, and this was right before the Helenius fight. And, Shelly Finkel sat there and said that, yeah, it's true, that he has, tried to negotiate, and he told him after the fight with Helenius, then we can, we get past Helenius, then we can talk, and we can negotiate. And then, again, Eddie Hearn sat there and said that, yeah, he reached out to Wilder's team several times. This has been years of this shit. Okay, so for the fight to not happen, it is what it is. So then you think, well, if Wilder don't take the fight with AJ, and you heard Wilder saying he wants to fight Anthony Joshua in Africa, and he wants to fight this guy and this guy. Now, what happened to the talks between Wilder versus Andy Ruiz? So all of a sudden now, Wilder, by beating Helenius, is the #1 contender for the WBC. So what, y'all want a Wilder versus Fury 4? So, what happened to the title eliminators? Andy Ruiz won 2 title eliminators. So how does how does Deontay Wilder win his title eliminator, and all of a sudden they're trying to set him up for a 4th fight with Fury? But he doesn't have to fight Andy. So what he's saying is he'd rather fight for a title. Be it Usyk. Now he's saying Usyk. So then if he beats Usyk, then give Andy Ruiz a title shot. No. See, that's the point. They try to avoid the roadblocks. So if I lose to Andy, then I don't get that title shot. So they're not as confident as they are cocky. No, do the right thing, man. Andy Ruiz won 2 title eliminators to get there. 2. His fight, he had two fights. Okay, and bottom line, what's the purpose? Like I said, what's the purpose of a title eliminator if you're not going to fight the winner of the other title eliminators? You can just pick and choose who you want to fight based on your star power. And this is where you got to look at things for what they are. So I don't understand how they keep talking about the so-called elite fighting each other and then nothing happens. People, I'll say it this way. If you want something, and we heard Wilder was the main one pushing this whole narrative about, at the end of the day, the fighter is the boss. Eddie Hearn worked for AJ. Well, Shelly Finkel worked for you. Why can't this fight be made? Now, if it comes down to Matchroom versus PBC or Golden Boy, versus Top Rank or whatever type of nonsense and all this the cross-platform stuff, and it's beef with the who's going to take the lion's share, all this stuff. Everything that could possibly happen to make a fight not happen, more than likely will happen when it comes to the elite fight, the elite. So we just have to see, how things go. But at the end of the day, and remember, I told you guys, there's no guarantee you're going to get Wilder versus Ruiz. I told you guys. But I guarantee you, like I always tell you, if Luis Ortiz had to beat Andy, that would have been the next fight for Deontay Wilder after the Helenius fight. I feel that. But because that's not what happened, look at the situation. And can you say that Luis Ortiz, his name carries more weight than Andy Ruiz's name? He's never been a world champion. He's most known for getting knocked out 2 times against Wilder and being called the boogeyman that has an extremely weak resume. So, look, y'all. We don't know what's going to happen, but we'll see. And Anthony Joshua is kind of incognito right now. So, at the end of the day, man, it just comes down to, what these fighters really want to happen. And after everything that Wilder was saying about fighting AJ in Africa, crying after his fight about this guy, just saying a bunch of stuff and talking, and then you see the talks just die. And then guess what? And in the midst of him calling out Anthony Joshua's name, and in the midst of him calling out Alexander Usyk's name, Malik Scott doing the same thing. You know what everybody forget? What about Andy Ruiz? Now, we get back to No, that's not how that goes. That is not how that works. But in boxing, it does. And again, another shit stain on the face of boxing because of that. Anyway, talk to me in the comment section. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people, and I will catch y'all on the next video.